Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. You are joining me. I'm Kirk Henderson, and tonight I'm joined by Mavs Moneyball contributor Tyler Edsel. Tyler, how you doing, buddy?
Kirk, it's good to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry for the technical issues on getting here, but the pleasure is all mine.
Well, we're glad you're here. Josh, he didn't need a night off. I told him to take a night off. So here we are. And, you know, much like half of the Mavericks roster, Josh is getting to have a little bit of rest tonight. And Tyler, you guys may have heard from some of the many after shows we've had over the years. I bothered him enough, and he joined Mavs Moneyball and does some of our gambling writing along with anything else that he feels like doing. So the Mavericks won tonight in a really, I was prepared for them to lose this game. So they're 9-8. Now they're 10-8 following this 129-119 win. And after they lost the Miami Heat last night, like I slowly sort of spiraled out of frustration because just winning these games this point in the year is pretty important for how you perform over the course of the year. The first 20 games are very predictive. And I think it's safe to say that given the track record of Jason Kidd, he's just willing to play out the string a little more. And the loss last night and how they lost that game, particularly in moments in kind of the second and the fourth quarter, indicate that he's working on something towards something bigger than a regular season win. I get it. I think we all get it from a like a, what do you want to call it? Just sort of a scholarly point of view, but it's just like we watch these games night in and night out. And when you see the Mavericks shit the bed like they did against the Heat, it pisses you off. So I was sort of like thinking, you know, particularly before the game, who all was out? There was Quentin Grimes was doubtful, and then he was out with sickness. Kyrie Irving was questionable. He ended up playing, and we'll talk about him a lot more. Klay Thompson is out with plantar fasciitis related issues. Luka Doncic is out. Dante Exum is out. You know, that's a lot of guys in your envisioned top half of the rotation. So I was pretty, wasn't like dead set on them losing, but I was sort of mentally prepared for them to lose. And then they came out and played a really interesting back and forth game with a Hawks team that is very Jekyll and Hyde. And I want to know, like, what were sort of your big takeaways from this game before we recap it in so much as we can?
I think maybe my most important takeaway was just how good Najee Marshall, Jaden Hardy, and last night's pariah, Spencer Dinwiddie, they kind of saved the day here in this one, to be completely honest with you. While Kyrie was struggling early, they kind of picked up the slack. Jaden Hardy with 15 in the first half kind of kept them in touch. So it was kind of the others that held it together until the end. And then in the fourth quarter, it was Kyrie time. So it's kind of duct tape, smoke, and mirrors. But in the end, it was enough to get it done.
Yeah, there's a lot there that I think we have to unpack to a certain degree, because the Jaden Hardy game was really something else. He ended up with 23 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 2 of which were absolutely amazing, and then a hilarious 6 turnovers, 3 of which happened in the first 5 minutes of the game. this was so if you're kind of a Jaden Hardy truther, as I refer to people that are super fans, this game had a little bit of everything. And if you're a Jaden Hardy hater, this game had a little bit of everything. But his ending up, his plus minus being a -6 isn't really fair, because the Mavericks got blown out during a significant portion of the first quarter, and that was when he was on the floor. And the fact that they were able to rally from that, and then Jaden Hardy was able to play a big part in the second half, I think bodes well for his role in the offense moving forward. He had the 3 steals, I mentioned this, were pretty fantastic. Just really no other way to put it, because he had 2 where he anticipated where the defense was, where the offensive player was going, took the bump in the chest while like swiping down, and ended up, picking off the player in his dribble and taking it the other way, either for a layup or for fouls. And, that's just not the kind of thing we've seen him do very much of. Like, he gets lost in team defense. Like, he just does. Like, that's not me being an asshole. Like, there's tape to prove it. But I like the one-on-one chops, because I don't know, a fair number of Mavericks end up seeing, like, they just kind of, okay, if there's somebody driving on them, they go like this. They're like, all right, we're just getting the fuck out of the way, and you can go to the basket. So talk to me a little bit more about what you thought about Jaden Hardy's game.
I mean, as great as he was offensively in terms of just pure, like, shot taking and eventually shot making, I thought his steals were equally, if not more important. Just being able to string together a few stops, especially early. Like, he outstole the NBA's leading steal man in Dice Daniels, which was the whole premise of where I thought this game could blow up. So the fact that Hardy got 3 steals to kind of go along with his offensive production, yeah, it was extraordinarily meaningful. Deeply unexpected, but definitely appreciated on the defensive end.
Yeah, I'm glad for him. I am not a Hardy hater in so much as I don't like Hardy superfans. And so the fact that this game had a little bit of everything for everyone is pretty fun. Najee Marshall was the second guy you mentioned, and he is just trying to think where to rank. Like, he's an interesting player where you'd rank within the Mavericks hierarchy, because it gets into some pretty interesting discussions. But during this Luka-less period, Marshall is right up there with PJ Washington as far as being the second most valuable Maverick behind Kyrie Irving. And tonight, he ended up having a nice game last night, but he had a really rough start. Tonight, he was pretty important start to finish. He did have 4 ugly turnovers, but 22 points on 9 of 12 shooting to go along with 6 rebounds is – I can't believe we're here with Najee Marshall. Like, that was a fantastic basketball game from him.
I quite literally don't have the words to put into how thrilled I am with Najee's play. Not just in terms of where it falls within this season, because I think it's awfully, like, it shows how important he is. But the way he's played, like, I think he's my favorite Mavs role player since, I don't know, Al-Farouq Aminu. Like, we're going back in the Wayback Machine. Like, he's just been incredible, especially here in the last 5 games. I saw the NBA University tweeted out that over his last 5 games, he's averaging 19.2 points per game on 74% true shooting. Like, he's taking and making shots, which is critical without Luka. So hats off to him. He was spectacular again tonight.
He hit 2 more threes, which was really something, after the guy was just for the millennia in terms of how many misses he took. And one of his threes was as close to a Luka 3 that I can remember, because it was like 4 feet behind the line, and it looked like he just kind of gunned it up, and then it just went in. It was nice to see. So him getting additional looks and finding ways to be impactful is pretty important. It was nice to see. Let's see here. Where are we? All right. So I kind of got ahead of myself here. Normally I like to sort of talk about the game, but I really did want to talk about those 2 players first and foremost. But the Mavericks came out looking pretty sluggish in all forms of things. They were down at 1 point 16 in the first quarter. And so you're looking at this, and you're following along and going, why am I using a Monday night doing this? I mean, at least the game's early, but it was pretty heinous. Then they sort of just like worked themselves back into it. And by the end of the first quarter, they were down 28-31. A big part of that, and I just have to, it's just got to not admit it because I want all Mavericks players to succeed, but Spencer Dinwiddie, working his way to the free throw line really helped settle the Mavericks down. That in the first and the second quarter really sort of gave Dallas a lifeline when they were rather inept. I mean, the Mavericks looked like a Benny Hill video in the first 3 minutes of the game when they just couldn't score. So, with the first half of the first quarter being pretty ugly, the Mavericks actually came all the way back and kind of kicked the shit out of the Hawks for the significant portion of the second, only to die in the final 2 minutes of the half where they gave up a 12-0 run and found themselves down 61 to 67 or 67 to 61 with the Hawks leading. Jason Kidd channeled his inner Rick Carlisle in the third quarter. The Mavericks got down by 11 points pretty quickly. And then following that, Jaden Hardy went to work. Spencer Dinwiddie went to work, and the Mavericks sort of worked themselves back into this game. They were led by 1 heading into the final quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, Hardy and Spencer kept things alive early, and then Kyrie Irving went on just sort of a blitzkrieg of sorts where he scored 16 of his 32 points in the fourth quarter, including 4 not wide open, really impressive 3-point shots and a pair of assists, including one to a Maxi Kleber who dunked the ball, which was, you'll see a leprechaun before you'll see Maxi Kleber dunk the ball. And then, at that point, the Hawks were just shook. There was a really, really cool block with about a minute left where the Hawks get a fast break layup and Kyrie just sold. I saw him walking the other way. And clearly he knew something I didn't, because PJ Washington blocks whoever shot that was off the backboard. Kyrie Irving then takes it down and scores on a really nifty layup to effectively seal the game. And that was the game here. It was, that's kind of the high level recap. Did I miss anything there?
No, you hit everything. They were down, 16 early. It was just incredible resilience. And kind of to your point, I thought early in the third quarter, because it was a 12-0 run to end the half, and then the Mavs were down 11. I believe it was a 17-2 extended run. I kind of thought their second night of a back-to-back, they might just be out of gas, but I got to give them credit. They hung in there long enough and then waited them out in the fourth quarter, and they walked the Hawks into waters they couldn't swim into. So it was pretty impressive, I must say.
Just sort of peace-inducing, because the Miami game was really fun right up until it wasn't. And so this game following sort of a similar script, only the Mavericks actually effectively closing the door, was really nice. Was really, really nice. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. And I want to talk to you guys about our first official sponsor here at Pod Maverick. You've heard me do it the past few podcasts. I'm going to do it again. Several weeks ago, we were approached by a company that is only here in Dallas, and I want to say the Bay Area, and maybe in Austin. It's a company called Body Spec. They provide what's called a DEXA scan, which is a full body composition scan that helps you understand what's going on with your body, whether you're an athlete, a parent with a desk job like Josh and I, or just a person considering getting, back into shape and, restarting your fitness journey. A DEXA scan is a great way to figure out where you are. If you'll head to the show notes and click on the Body Spec link, you can see what I'm talking about. Guys, it really helps Josh and I, really helps us. If you value our show, going to the link and signing up and getting one of these body scans is the best way you can help us. There's also a promo code, PODMAVS45, PODMAVS in all caps, at the checkout to get $15 off a single scan. With the holidays and the new year right around the corner, this is a great gift idea on top of being a way to kickstart your New Year's resolution. Body Spec's competitors charge as much as $150 for a scan like this, so you'll be getting real usable information for a great price. Again, visit the Body Spec link in the show notes and use the code PODMAVERICK45 at checkout. Josh is going to get one of these. We're all we're supposed to, but it's just he's this time of year with his job, it's tough for him to get away. But he's going to get one. We're going to talk about these, and you're going to have to hear about he and I's sort of health places as we're in our, he's in his 30s, I'm in my 40s, and we're here to help. We care about you guys, and we think this is a way that you can get things going. So, all right, I'm going to insert some ads, and then Tyler and I will be right back to kind of close out, figure out what else we would want to talk about here. Thanks for hanging out.
Whole Foods Market has Thanksgiving gatherings covered. First things first, reserve your no antibiotics ever fresh whole turkey today, starting at $2.99 a pound. Or go with their organic spiral cut bone-in ham, full of seared-in flavor. For sides, choose Whole Foods Market grab-and-go platters. Go even further and get your whole meal catered. Just order online by November 26th. Get Thanksgiving ready at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting. Go to your happy place for a happy price with Priceline's Black Friday sale. Save now and travel later with our best deals of the year.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Okay, appreciate you hanging out with us and listening to my spiel and also going ahead and clicking that body spec link. It is a big deal. I really mean this, guys. It helps us. If you care about helping us, consider it. While you're here, if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel, if you would subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, leave us comments, shoot us emails, like the stream, hang out for our secondary show, Mavs Party, which I'm going to do tonight if there's any interest, and we can talk with anybody else that has takes on kind of the past 2 days. Tyler, is there like anything else that there's a lot we could jump to, but what are you thinking about with this game?
I think we have to go Kyrie next because that fourth quarter, since Luka's been out, he's kind of thrown up some duds. That fourth quarter was kind of vintage what we've gotten accustomed to here over the last few years. The shot making. So he was 5 of 21 at one point in the fourth quarter. And then he made 5 shots in a row, including 4 threes to just kind of get the thing on ice. So that's the joy of having
5 of 21. I didn't realize it was that bleak. I knew his 3-point shooting was pretty rough, but I guess you're right, because he did finish 11 of 28, which is pretty poor efficiency. I don't know. So I was sort of prepared. I want to give Kyrie an out. And one of the best players in NBA history doesn't need an out. But I think his role in this team is not to carry it. That he managed to do so on the second night of a back-to-back when he kind of had I just wasn't expecting this. I mean, I kind of thought the Mavericks might find a way to win anyways, but for them to win so emphatically with that sort of performance from him was really fun.
Yeah, and I think the thing that stood out to me most, and you can double check me on this, I think he only sat for less than 10 seconds of the second half. He sat for with 3.5 minutes to go. He sat when Kidd had a use it or lose it timeout. He sat on that defensive possession, and then he came right back in the game. Other than that, I can't remember him sitting for any other part of the second half. So for him to grind out a game where he was questionable going in with the illness, definitely wasn't at his best in the first half. But for him to do that in the fourth quarter he went out there and dug that out of the dirt tonight. That was an incredible job.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching him shoot the ball because even when his shots aren't going in, they look good. And so it's almost a surprise at this point, because Brian Roby and I were talking during the playback where it's like, man, he said something where it's like, I feel like Kyrie hasn't hit that many transition shots lately, which was funny because there was a stat that came out before the Heat game where he's just he's apparently incandescent on these pull-up shots in transition. So him sort of finding that element again was really important. There's just not much more to say about him other than it's nice to see him come through when the Mavericks need him. I think his it's probably isn't fair, but the playoffs sort of took I wouldn't say his reputation took a hit, but he didn't have his best playoffs. I think he would admit to that. He had a couple of good spurts, but otherwise he was primarily shut down. It's one of those things that really confuses me when people are like, Luka didn't play very well in the playoffs. And I'm like, who did? like the Mavericks won a bunch of games, and I'm sitting there wondering, well, who played like Lively, obviously, and I guess Luka played okay at spurts, but Luka and Kyrie didn't even play that great, and they still got all the way to the finals. So it's just sort of where we are. I would say that, and I've talked about it already, but I don't know if I have talked about it because I wrote the recap too, and my brain is mashed potatoes. But PJ Washington coming through like he has again is something that I'm finding myself just shocked with, because it's not that I didn't have high hopes for PJ, but for him to become this level of reliable on the boards more than anything else, the shot making, it's going to come and go. I do like his willingness to attack, but him grabbing rebounds and him, attacking from 2-point shots is just, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Do you think he's elevated his game, or is he just at a point where he's getting more usage in terms of, guys being out and things like that? I think it's pretty clear to me that he's elevated himself, especially on those little things like his post work, getting rebounds especially. But the fact that he's been able to produce like this, especially in the last week, it is noticeable when he's on the floor versus off. Like that Utah game, not being able to secure rebounds, some of the little things like that. It's just, he feels like such a big connecting piece, kind of what I viewed Exum as last year, in terms of just being really good at connecting the dots for this team. PJ feels like he's at that level, but even better in terms of being able to produce the scoring and then the rebounding as well. He's been a delight here in the last week and a half or so.
I do need to correct myself. McGurble pointed out that Kyrie had a really great first round. And honestly, I sat there for 20 seconds and went, who the hell did the Mavericks play in the first round? And the answer ended up being the Clippers. And yes, he was right, because Luka was kind of goofy during certain points of that series. But the PJ of it all is interesting. Victor Lugo in the chat, points out that PJ attacking off the dribble, that is something I've really liked, because it's been decisive work off the dribble. It's short post-ups. It's not just him standing and shooting. And it's also not just him, if the catching at the 3-point line, sizing things up, it's a slower play. I've liked him off the dribble, where he's been attacking rather ruthlessly. And, frankly, in the first part of this game against the Hawks, I don't know who was guarding him. It felt like the Hawks had a bigger guy guarding PJ. His shot was a little short, but he kept pressing. He ended up being 5 of 11. He only shot 3 3-pointers. So that's 4 of 8 from 2-point range. And there was a couple that you could tell that he absolutely wanted back, where he just sort of short armed them. And those shots are going to be there for him. They're just like, that's the sort of shot that a defense is going to have to concede with Kyrie and Luka on the floor. So seeing him attacking is really, really nice. I don't know I'm sort of over the concept of him being a reasonable 3-point shooter, because if he's going to attack like this off the dribble, I can't say I care. Is that silly?
I don't think so. And the way he's driving, last year, it felt like at times he was driving aimlessly without a plan. This year, it feels like every time he drives, it's with intent, and he's got a plan on what he wants to do. I think that's the biggest difference. He's still from time to time will get, stripped on his drives, but it feels like less of a regular occurrence. And I think it's because he's got a plan on what he wants to do.
I mean, he had 1 turnover in 39 minutes tonight. Now, it's not like he has the ball a bunch, but you're speaking to something there. And I want to go check out his game log just to see what's been going on the turnover front. Yeah, okay. He had 4 against Denver, which that's a higher usage game for him. But since he's been back, which started, when was he back? 16th, because he missed basically from the 4th to the 16th. He's only had 10 turnovers in all these games, and he's had the ball a ton. So that speaks to a fair amount of what you're talking about there in terms of his improved efficiency. I like seeing it. I do, because if he is, and this, I don't know, the Luka coming back is going to be really interesting, because Luka has to, I think, pick up the pace of his play so that these guys can continue to exploit defenses. Because if they're freaking out about Luka and Kyrie, PJ Lively, Klay Thompson, everybody else should be getting better looks And that means a better offense. So hopefully we'll see some of that whenever Luka comes back, which hopefully is next week.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if you want to touch on it real quick because Lively only played 11 minutes and then he left due to the illness that came back.
That was why he left. I missed that.
Yes, so he was ruled out at halftime. He got sick. I guess.
Do they all have like Miami flu? What the fuck happened? I don't.
Hey, Miami and Atlanta nightlife back to back. Tough one. But I do want to give a quick appreciation to Maxi Kleba. I was ready to ship him back to Berlin, but the fact of the matter is he played some 5 in the second half.
Yep.
And he was pretty productive, especially considered kind of what we'd seen from him earlier this year. He hit a 3. He played decent enough defense, and he was part of the lineup that got the Mavericks ahead in the fourth quarter because Gafford didn't come back in until – I don't think he did come back in, actually. So, shout out to Maxey. I was ready to be done with him, but that was – he kind of picked a good time to put it all together.
Well, the Mavericks needed the moment, and frankly, Maxey was, he was lesser on the blame sheet, but he was one of the many Dallas bench players who just died against Miami. So the fact that one of his, terrifying straight line threes went into the basket, it's a big deal. I wonder when his last in-game dunk was. That was a pretty awesome play out of a timeout from Kidd and company, and shout out to Kyrie for a very good pass. So that was a lot of fun. I'm glad to have seen that one. I'm looking through anything else, and I'm not a lot is jumping out to me. I really wish Jazz Gortman, one of his 2 shots was able to go down, but his sort of frenetic energy in his 5 minutes, I mean, the Mavericks were +7 in the 5 minutes he was on the floor. So there's just something to playing hard and playing at a higher pace. It doesn't need to be out of control, but the Mavericks should, I think they have such talent on offense that they need to be able to press their advantage by making other teams scramble. And that's just one of the things I'm taking away from Luka's time off.
I agree. And I was kind of messing around on cleaning glass earlier today. And the starting lineup that gotten some burn without Luka, which being Kyrie, Grimes, Clay, PJ, and Lively in there, I think they played almost 60 possessions coming into the night. And then, of course, they played 0. But net rating wise, they were plus 43 over the course of those 60 possessions. So this lineup definitely played at a higher pace. And I do think that's important to just kind of get things going in the flow. Very rarely did you see the ball getting across at 16 seconds. They initiated offense early, were able to get some cuts and movements going. And I think even when Luka comes back, that's something they need to kind of continue working on. Because anytime they can get quick offense, it's just less they have to work for.
That's right.
Over the course of 82 games, that's going to matter.
That's really important because I feel like the Mavericks haven't hit the easy button very often during Luka's games this year. There's been maybe 6 total quarters where I felt like things were straightforward for these guys, which shouldn't be the case with this much offensive talent. And hopefully they're all, with Luka getting his body right, the Mavericks sort of settling in. Hopefully when he comes back, soon they can look at what's been working and then adapt it to what Luka does well, because again, you got one of the best players on the planet. You should be able to figure some of this stuff out. So the Mavericks are now, what do we got here? 2 games above 500, which thank goodness for that, because I was not really looking forward to it. They play again on Wednesday, and then they have a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back, which is interesting. But all of these games, let me just see, where'd my schedule go? The game against the Knicks on Wednesday is going to be on ESPN, which means an actual real start time the day before Thanksgiving. Saturday is at Jazz, then at Portland, then versus Memphis, then at Washington, at Toronto. The Mavericks have an opportunity for an earnest to goodness win streak. And not this, the 4-gamer they had, well, it wasn't fake. The fact that they died against whoever the hell we played last night, Miami, I just wish they could have kept this whole thing going, because I would have really liked to have been able to talk about that, particularly after starting 5-7. Instead, what's going to happen is the Mavericks are just going to be one of these teams that's kind of on the back burner, and we will we'll see where they go from here. Tyler, do you have any closing thoughts?
We don't have to apologize for wins, so we'll take them as we come. Unfortunately, couldn't be 2 in a row, but The fact that they got a split out of these two, I'm not going to be too beat up over. If it was in the reverse order, I don't know if we'd have as much of an issue about losing the second night of back-to-back against a kind of funky Hawks team. So the fact that they made up for yesterday's frustrating loss is very nice. And now tomorrow you get to focus on your favorite thing, the NBA Cup. We've got a big one. We need the Rockets to keep winning so they would get the automatic spot so we can get the wild card.
Okay. And they play the Warriors. Yes.
So the Rockets play Minnesota tomorrow. They're in Group A, but they're the only team in the NBA who has a higher point differential than us.
Oh, that's
fantastic.
If
they catch a loss, then chances are it'll be us and the Rockets for the wild card. But if they win their group, we're in prime position to get that wild card spot.
Oh, well, not to J. Jonah Jameson you, but that might be worth 300 words for the old MavsMoneyball.com.
Hey, I was planning on doing one before Tuesday because we don't play another Cup game until the last night of the Cup. So
right, which at that point things might be decided.
Well, I'll do one after the Rockets game tomorrow because we'll know a lot more after that because everybody will be caught up on games. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think our group's the only one that's played 3 games so far.
It's so interesting. Like I noticed that when playing the Nuggets and then when playing, I don't know if the Hawks are the same, but some of our past few opponents, I'm like, gosh, the Mavericks have just played more games than them. That's just one of those things.
The Heat only played that last night was their 14th game. And
and that was
our 18th.
Right. That's just, that's a big difference in early season load, but that stuff sorts itself out. I don't know if you remember this last year. Josh and I were laughing because at one point early in the year, we had like 5 days off and we didn't know. We're like, what the fuck is going on? So,
and then this year, tonight was our 8th game on a rest disadvantage, most in the NBA.
Wow. And we've won at least 3 of those.
We're 5-3. 5-3.
That's fascinating that they win those, but not some of the other ones. Way to go, Mavericks. Way to go. Well, Tyler, you're a hero for pinching in here. We'll have you on. You can always do the thing. I mean, hopefully the Mavs Moneyball staff knows this, but you guys can always invite yourselves on the podcast. Like Josh and I don't give a shit. We're just, we do this night in and night out because it's fun. I appreciate you joining us. Everybody that's hanging out here in the stream, do me a favor, hang out a little bit longer. I'm going to cut to a quick break, and then we're going to do an episode of Mavs Party. Those of you who are listening on the audio stream, please consider looking for this show or for that show a little bit later on Tuesday afternoon. Tyler, you're the man. Everybody else, hang tight. We will be back in just a few seconds. Bye, guys.